What is the darkest secret you have discovered about someone after they passed away? I grew up in a large family. My dad and mom had 8 kids, but my dad had 3 others from a previous marriage. They were much older than the 8, so we considered them adults while growing up. I spent a good deal of time with their kids growing up, as they were mostly around our ages. I always thought it weird that some of these cousins looked nothing like anyone else in our family. Turns out one of the 3 kids my dad had from a previous marriage wasn't his. His wife at the time cheated on him with her drug dealer. He opted to raise the kid as his own, rather than let him be raised by 2 druggies.
It only takes a night to be a father, but it takes a lifetime to be a dad.
Had a great aunt, my grandmother's sister. She was a pillar of her community and everyone loved her. She died peacefully at 87, and there was an upbeat celebration of life ceremony. At the end of the touching speeches, her daughter got up and announced that this woman had killed her husband, their father, who was thought to have died during a home invasion, and blackmailed the children to stay quiet. Celebration of life wrapped up pretty quick after that.
Damn. Bet it felt good for daughter to finally let that one out.
Back in the day when I was a teenager, my neighbor passed away. Dude was like an uncle to me and my brothers and sisters. He had a daughter that to this day is like our sister. Very upstanding dude, pillar of the community, coach our baseball and basketball teams, worked 2 jobs, and was always present. So he passed away, and on his funeral, his second family shows up out of nowhere. Like a full-blown second family, mistress, 2 really young kids that look like him. The whole thing was so bizarre to understand as a teenager myself in those days. Like how? With what time?
Worked 2 jobs. There you got the time.
Not quite what you're after, I know, but my grandfather on my father's side was a horrible, horrible person. He was physically, mentally, and abusive towards his kids. They had every reason to hate his guts, with just how he was around the house. My father never forgave him. But when he and his wife, my grandmother, would argue, she would shut him up by saying, "I'll tell the kids. I'll turn them against you. I'll tell them what you did." And it would instantly shut him up. To this day, nobody knows what he did that could possibly be worse than what he was known to have done. All the evil shit he did to his kids. The secret died with them. I'm guessing he murdered someone. Surely that's the only way you could go worse. More sad than dark, but my mom's dad died when she was 6. She and her 2 sisters were told it was from a brain aneurysm their whole life by their mother. About 3 years after her mother, my grandmother, passed away, my mom found her dad's death certificate, which stated he died from carbon monoxide poisoning. Turns out he took himself out, and her mom never told her the truth for 55+ years. Even her dad's sister, who is still alive, confirmed it and had been hiding that secret from my mom and her 2 sisters too. My grandfather was a serial arsonist and insurance fraudster who never got caught. He burned down the family home for insurance money when his kids were little. Several years later, he did it again to their new home, destroying multiple irreplaceable heirlooms and many family photos, as well as took out the family dog. When my dad was a teenager, Grandpa paid him and a couple of his friends' cousins to steal his car and total it. They smashed it up with baseball bats and set it on fire in a ditch. Shortly before Grandpa died, in his 70s, over a decade ago, his old barn accidentally caught fire and burned down too. The insurance company replaced it with a nice, shiny, new barn. I always wondered why my aunt had such a distant, strained relationship with her dad. Turns out she found out the truth about those house fires when she was a young adult and never recovered from it. She lost a lot that was important to her in those fires, including the dog. Can't say that I blame her. My grandma was a teenage runaway who eloped with her boyfriend and lived with his family in a small shack. I guess my great-grandfather went to get her, and they had the marriage annulled. I think only her sisters knew about it for years, and one of them finally told one of her kids. On the other side, I didn't know my great-grandfather had married a set of sisters. He was married to the oldest sister first, and she died when their baby was small. My great-grandmother moved in to take care of her for him, and they ended up getting married and having a child together too. My grandma and great-aunt were sister cousins. Also, my grandma was already a couple of months pregnant with my dad when she married my grandfather. Such scandal for a good Christian girl back in the 50s.
Coslings is the term LOL.
At my last job, at a natural history museum, we sometimes received collections as part of a will. One time, we found valuable coins in a donated butterfly collection, so we contacted the relatives. The late donor's wife and other relatives, all over 70, sat with us as we opened the lid. Beneath the pinned butterflies were sealed envelopes. We opened them, expecting more treasure, but found love letters to another woman. The atmosphere quickly turned awkward.
Whoops.
Dark, but sad dark. My dad's eldest cousin died very suddenly of an aneurysm when she was 40, leaving 4 children. Aunts and uncles in the family was rushing around trying to find my grandfather. My dad didn't understand why there was so much urgency compared to telling other relatives. Then the penny dropped. She was his sister. Before he was married, my grandfather had had an affair with a married woman. She had reconciled with her husband, but he didn't want another man's child. My great-aunt and her husband adopted the baby. Obviously, it was right for her to be adopted. Within the family, if my granddad didn't want to be a single father, but the kids should have been told. My dad was an only child, and for up to 31 years he could have known he had a big sister. He had her photo in a prominent position in his living room for the rest of his life. I just found out last year that my granddad, who passed in 2012, upped and left the family when my mum was 15, moved in with a woman and had a son with her. He then moved back in with my mum, grandma and aunt, and pretended the son didn't exist, and everything just carried on as normal. Last year, my mum and aunt got a random letter from an adoption agency on behalf of the son looking to find his family, and we all met him at Christmas. We feel bad for him as he has so many questions about my granddad that we just don't have the answers to. This post should be titled, "How many new family members did you discover you had after someone passed away?" When my maternal grandpa died, I found out he was very rough to grandma and my mom. He even broke my mom's arm. He also had a lot of affairs, including with my grandma's best friend. He also had a son with an underage girl and made my grandma bring him in as her own. He lied about adopting him. He also slept with his son's wife and fathered my cousin. I also found medical records of my grandma when they found out she had terminal brain cancer. He had brought her into the hospital and told the doctor, "She ain't right and has gone stupid." My grandma was a housekeeper, and apparently she stopped being able to care for him. The way he talked to her and about her to the doctor was heartbreaking. There's more, but it's more stupid. I asked my mom why she allowed us to be around him and why she kept this all a secret. Apparently, after I was born and later after my grandma died, he changed so much. He became the doting grandpa that I knew and actually helped her when she left her abusive second husband. I remember him as the guy who loved Jackie Chan and the Dixie Chicks. He was also super obsessed with the Titanic. My dad was a piece of work. During my lifetime, he really only had one redeeming quality, and that was how he handled my severely autistic little brother. He himself was disabled from a back injury at work, and I was working and paying the mortgage, along with one of my brothers who was helping all through high school. We both had a room there, but it was easier not to be there, and so I couch surfed from 16 to 18. 2 of my high school teachers who knew my home circumstances got together and paid for my application, along with putting in recommendations at their alma mater, still a top 10 school today. When he died, we put anything that obviously wasn't trash into storage. He developed a hoarding disorder near the end of his life, so that was the easiest way to deal with it at the time. Years later, we were going through his stuff, and I found an opened acceptance letter with a full scholarship plus housing, and a stipend that he obviously knew about but never shared with me. I could have been Ivy League educated for free. Grandpa had a secret family, but we didn't find out until roughly 12 years after his death, when Nana died. His other kids in another state respectfully waited till Nana passed before making contact. To my mother, surprise, we're your half-siblings. Grandpa was an ugly, abusive alcoholic. No idea how he landed 2 women, let alone 1. After our mother died, we found letters which discussed that one of our aunts was in fact the child of an incestuous relationship between a great uncle and his daughter we didn't know existed. She had the child, then ran off to escape her dad, leaving the baby behind, and made her way to Canada, where she settled, married, and where we now have an extended family. The great uncle was forced to leave the area and never mentioned ever.
Leave a like and comment which one shocked you the most. Subscribe for more.